Hello everyone. I'm so happy to see you all again on my channel. Today, I bring you a very special story about the single mother Ly Hoai Ca and the police officer Hùng, a journey filled with tears, but also with humanity, love, and courage. Ly Hoai Ca, the strong woman from a small countryside village. After many years of raising her child alone, she has always remained resilient, silently enduring every hardship. Her life seemed peaceful until Hùng, a young police officer who was injured during duty, returned to his hometown to recover. Amid stormy days, these two souls met again by chance, warming each other's hearts with a simple yet sincere love. But nature showed no mercy. Storm number 9, then number 10 and number 11 struck one after another, devastating the poor village and sweeping away Hoai Ca's small wooden home. In the swirling floodwaters, she nearly lost her life while trying to save her chickens and the few belongings she had left. Yet Hùng, though still bearing his wounds, didn't hesitate to dive into the raging waters. He swam through the freezing rain, fighting the current to reach Hoai Ca, battling every second between life and death to bring her back. Amid the roaring storm, between howling winds and flashes of lightning, the love and strength of two people shone like a small flame, fragile yet enduring, enough to warm even the darkest days. Join me in today's video to feel the power of love, faith, and the unwavering spirit of a single mother named Ly Hoai Ca. Late at night, the wind howled fiercely across the roof, carrying with it the chill and damp scent of the earth. Inside the small wooden house, only a single oil lamp flickered in the main room, its dim yellow light casting trembling shadows on the faces of 3 people. Mother Ha sat on the wooden bed, her hands shaking as she fingered the rosary beads, lips murmuring quiet prayers. From time to time, her eyes drifted toward the door, where darkness merged with the relentless sound of rain hammering down. Little Tony slept soundly in Hung's arms, his breathing steady, his small face strangely peaceful amid the raging wind outside. Gently, Hùng laid the boy down, pulled a thin blanket over him, and turned to look at Hoai Ca. She sat silently by the window, eyes tracing the raindrops sliding down the wooden frame. A flash of lightning illuminated her worried face. "I wonder how high the stream is now," she whispered, barely audible over the storm. Hung's gaze followed hers toward the rain-soaked darkness. His voice was low but steady. "I'll stay up and keep watch till morning. You and Mother should rest. Don't worry." She nodded softly, though her eyes never left the door. The whole house sank into an uncanny stillness, the kind that comes before a storm breaks, when all one can do is hold their breath and wait for what's coming. Outside, the wind grew stronger. Roof tiles clattered, threatening to lift off. Water splashed through the gaps in the shutters, spreading across the floor in uneven puddles. Midnight. A faint trickling sound echoed through the darkness, sharp enough to make Mother Ha stir. She opened her eyes, listening. The sound continued, steady and rhythmic, like a brook whispering nearby. A chill of dread ran through her. She reached for the oil lamp and lit it quickly. The trembling light revealed the floor, water. It had already reached the foot of her bed, icy cold. "My God," she gasped. Her voice quivered as she shouted. "Ca! Hùng! The water's coming in. Wake up, children." Hùng sprang to his feet instantly. Hoai Ca bolted upright, and before she could even slip on her sandals, she saw water flooding across the floor. They rushed to grab important papers, wrap clothes in plastic, and lift suitcases onto the table. Tony woke up crying, terrified, his wailing mingling with the deafening roar of thunder outside. Rain crashed down like a waterfall, hammering the tin roof with relentless force. Lightning flashed over and over, searing the night white, revealing the trembling wooden walls and the water rising fast. Mother Ha clung to a wooden post, holding a small statue of Christ, whispering desperate prayers. Hoai Ca shivered as she carried a basin of clothes, the water already past her ankles, icy and heavy. Hùng held up the oil lamp, his voice firm and urgent amid the chaos. "We have to get out. It's too dangerous to stay." Another thunderclap split the sky. For a brief instant, the world turned blinding white. They looked at each other, eyes full of fear, but also determination. Hand in hand, they threw the door open against the raging wind. The flood surged in like a wild beast finally freed, swallowing the floor in seconds. And as the door burst open, they stepped out into the blinding rain. A world of roaring water and darkness, where a single misstep could mean losing everything. Outside, the night was a dense, impenetrable black. Dark clouds twisted like ribbons of some dark spirit, draping the sky in a shroud. Rain poured down in sheets as the wind screamed through the trees, ripping leaves and branches into a swirling chaos. Thunder rolled and echoed across the flooded rooftops. The ground trembled faintly, as if nature itself was shuddering with fury. Mother Ha led the way, clutching a small flashlight. Its weak beam flickered, sometimes steady, sometimes dim, casting trembling light across her deeply lined, anxious face. She waded through the water, each step unsteady. Behind her, Hùng held Tony tightly in his arms, his raincoat soaked and clinging to his body, the cold seeping into his bones. Hoai Ca gripped his hand, her fingers ice-cold but holding on fiercely, as if afraid that letting go for even a second might mean losing him forever. The water had risen to their knees. The current was swift and bitterly cold, carrying branches, debris, and shards of broken tin. Every gust of wind whipped the surface into white froth, striking their legs and making them stumble. "Stay close to me, don't drift away," Hùng shouted, his voice nearly swallowed by the wind. "Lord, please save us, please help us through this night," Mother Ha prayed between ragged breaths, fear quivering in her tone. They didn't dare look back. All they could do was hunch low, clinging to one another, inching step by step toward the higher ground at the edge of the village. Each step felt like a battle with the elements, the water pushed back at them as if trying to drag them under. Wind, thunder, and water merged into a single chaotic symphony. The flashlight beam wavered over half-submerged houses, toppled erica palms, and tin roofs flapping violently in the gusts. In the thick curtain of rain, their faces were pale, their eyes wide with fear, but somewhere deep inside, they still clung to a fragile thread of calm. As they neared the gate, the water churned faster, more violently. From afar, Mother Ha's flashlight caught the swirling vortexes like open mouths of a pit. The water crashed against the gateposts, frothing white, the smell of wet mud heavy in the air. Hoai Ca turned her head and saw a tiny chick being swept away by the current. It flailed weakly, letting out hoarse, pitiful cries. For an instant, the instinct of a farmer, a mother, a caretaker of every living thing surged inside her. "On the chick! Let me save it, just for a second," she cried, her voice breaking against the rain. Hùng started, reaching for her. "Ca, don't. It's dangerous. Don't go there." But the wind and rain devoured his words. Hoai Ca lunged forward, just a few steps, and disaster struck. A surge of floodwater from the stream came crashing down like a giant wall. It knocked her off her feet in an instant. "Ca!" Hung's scream ripped through the night. She was swept away, her figure twisting in the current, vanishing within seconds. The umbrella she held floated for a moment, then sank into the muddy water. Panic surged through Hùng. He thrust Tony into Mother Ha's arms, his voice shaking. "Mother! Hold on to him. Don't move from here, do you hear me?" Mother Ha clutched her grandson tight, tears mixing with the rain. "Hùng, no! "The water's too strong, my son," she cried, her voice breaking with desperation. But Hung did not turn back. Clenching his teeth, he summoned every ounce of strength and plunged into the raging flood. The wound on his shoulder tore open, blood mingling with the rain, staining the water red. His flashlight flickered and died, leaving only the flashes of lightning to illuminate his figure battling the current. The water swirled around him, mud rising, logs and sheets of tin slamming into his body. Yet Hung pushed forward, fighting upstream, his eyes fixed on one point, where Hoai Ca had just disappeared. Each stroke was a struggle between life and death. Wind, thunder, and his own shouts blended into a single heart-wrenching cry. "Ca! Listen to me! Where are you?" On the porch, Mother Ha fell to her knees, clutching a small statue of Christ, her sobbing prayer repeating over and over. "Please, have mercy on us, please don't take her away." In the pitch-black flood of night, a flash of lightning split the sky open, and for a fleeting second, Hung's silhouette appeared amidst the vast, raging waters, small, solitary, yet unyieldingly brave. The wind lashed like a whip, the water swirled around him in violent eddies. Hung kept swimming, arms slicing through the current, breath ragged, his heartbeat pounding in rhythm with the thunder crashing overhead. The small flashlight clipped to his shoulder flickered weakly, the only glimmer of light in the engulfing darkness, like the fragile hope he refused to let go of. "Ca! Where are you?" he shouted, his voice hoarse, breaking apart in the cold wind. No one answered. Only the roar of the rain and the taunting wails of the storm replied. He swam on, eyes bloodshot from the rain and mud. Every stroke tore open the wound on his shoulder, blood seeping into the churning water, but he didn't stop. He grabbed onto half-submerged branches, scanning frantically through the flashing light of distant lightning. Then, through the curtain of rain, he saw it, a strip of red cloth tangled on a broken branch. Hoai Ca's scarf. His heart clenched. "Ca! Are you here?" He surged forward, yanking the cloth free, eyes darting along the water's edge. In the next lightning flash, he saw a small figure caught against a log near the stream bank, half-submerged, motionless. "Hoai Ca!" His cry ripped through the storm. He lunged toward her, the flood slamming him against rocks, knocking the air from his lungs. But he fought back, forcing his battered body forward, each meter a battle between strength and despair. All he could see in his mind was her face, her smile, their quiet days together before the storm. He reached her. Her body was cold, limp, her hair plastered to her cheeks. "Ca, please, wake up, hear me, open your eyes," he whispered through trembling lips, wrapping his arms around her, keeping her head above the raging water. One arm held her tight, the other fought the current, muscles burning as the torrent slammed into them again and again, trying to drag them under. Each breath was a war with death itself. Hung clenched his jaw, his eyes blazing with desperate resolve. As long as he could breathe, he would save her. On the hillside, Mother Ha still knelt, clutching Tony to her chest. When she saw the faint glimmer of the flashlight flickering far down the stream, she broke into sobs. "Dear Lord, please save them, please don't take my children away." The rain kept pouring, thunder still cracked across the sky. But in that endless, furious sea, one man swam on, holding the woman he loved, fighting against the storm with nothing but faith, love, and the will to bring her back to life. ChatGPT.noi. That night, the rain finally stopped. Inside a small makeshift shelter built hurriedly from torn tarps and salvaged wood, the glow of red embers flickered across tired but living faces. Mother Ha sat close to the fire, her calloused hands gently tending the coals. She sighed, her eyes soft and full of warmth as they drifted toward the two figures in the corner. Tony curled up in his warm sweater, his wide eyes fixed on his mother. Hoai Ca lay back against a bamboo mat, her hair still damp, her skin pale from the cold. Beside her, Hùng carefully rewrapped the bandage on his shoulder, then leaned over to check on her. His hands trembled, partly from the chill, partly from emotion. The dim oil lamp cast a faint glow over his face, thin, pale, yet his eyes burned with a quiet, unspoken joy. He reached out and touched her cheek, his voice low and shaky. "Does it still hurt?" Hoai Ca's lips moved weakly, her voice soft, a faint smile forming. "I thought I'd never see you or our child again." Hùng bowed his head, gripping her hand tightly, his throat tightening with emotion. "As long as I'm still breathing, I'll find you, no matter where you are." She nodded gently, tears spilling down her cheeks, mingling with the warmth of the firelight. Tony crawled over, his tiny arms wrapping around his mother's waist. Mother Ha watched in silence, her own eyes glistening red. Amid the soft crackling of the fire and the cool night mist, the three generations held one another, wordless, but warm. After all they had lost, they were still here, together, alive, and perhaps that alone was enough for happiness. The next morning, the storm had passed. The sky opened to a pale shade of blue, and weak sunlight shone down upon the ravaged countryside. From the small shelter, Hoai Ca stepped out and stood still, gazing around. The fields ahead were buried in mud, the vegetable beds washed away, the chicken coop half collapsed, the motorbike tipped over in a pool of murky water. Their main house leaned to one side, the walls stained, broken roof tiles scattered across the yard. Hùng, leaning on a wooden cane, walked slowly around the yard, coughing from the cold. Mother Ha followed, holding an old coat, worry etched deep on her face. "Well, what's lost can be rebuilt," she said, her voice tight but still trying to smile. "As long as we're all safe, that's what matters." Hoai Ca came beside her, eyes reflecting sorrow but also a flicker of determination. "We'll rebuild it, from the ground up. I know we can." Hùng turned to her and nodded. He lifted his gaze toward the sky, where the first rays of sunlight pierced the clouds and shimmered across the muddy pools below. Amid the wreckage, a faint chirp rose, a tiny chick, somehow alive among the ruins. Hoai Ca smiled softly, bending down to scoop it up, her heart swelling. Mother Ha looked at her daughter and whispered, "See? Even the smallest life can survive the storm, just like us." They all looked at one another and smiled. A weary smile, but full of hope. The smile of people who had walked the edge of life and death, and realized that, as long as they could live and love, tomorrow would surely be brighter. On the tilted roof, the sunlight caught the raindrops still clinging to the tiles, making them sparkle like diamonds, like the tears of joy still glistening on Hoai Ca's cheeks. The first morning after days of endless rain. Warm sunlight finally returned, glinting off the wet metal roof like 1,000 tiny mirrors. No more thunder, no more howling wind, only the sound of voices, laughter, and cheerful calls echoing through the village. Groups of neighbors gathered to help. Some carried shovels, others hauled buckets of water. Clothes and faces were smeared with mud, but everyone was smiling. Old Uncle Ba, the neighbor, hoisted a sheet of tin onto his shoulder as he entered the yard and called out loudly, "Helping each other in hard times, that's just what we do. Don't you be shy about it." Wearing her conical hat, Hoai Ca swept the mud from the yard with a bamboo broom. She quickly wiped away a tear as she replied softly, "Thanks to everyone. I feel stronger now." Her voice trembled, but her smile shone bright. The women of the village gathered around her, scrubbing, washing, hanging clothes to dry, and propping up the fallen wooden shelves. Hùng and the men repaired the house frame, replacing the bent metal sheets. The rhythmic clang of hammers mixed with the distant crow of roosters, creating a familiar melody of life returning. Tony sat in the corner of the yard, playing in a pile of freshly delivered sand. His tiny hands worked fast, shoveling sand into a small plastic bucket. He laughed brightly. "I'm building a new house for Mommy." That pure, innocent laughter rang out in the calm morning air, spreading smiles across every face, warmth spreading like sunlight itself. A few days later, the sky was clear, white clouds drifting softly like cotton. After days of cleaning, the small wooden house of Hoai Ca stood neat and shining again, as if no storm had ever touched it. The yard was dry, the gourd and loofah vines along the fence had begun to climb once more, reaching for the morning sun. The new roof gleamed golden under the light, reflecting the resilience and warmth of the people who had endured the storm. Hung stood in the yard, carefully hanging up freshly washed clothes and towels. Every motion was slow, deliberate, as if he were trying to restore order to life itself after the chaos. Inside, Hoai Ca brewed a pot of hot tea, her gentle hands moving gracefully, her face serene and glowing with peace. Mother Ha sat on the porch, sorting vegetables, occasionally glancing up at her children and grandchildren with a faint, contented smile. Tony ran barefoot around the yard, his little feet covered in dirt, singing and laughing as he chased the sunlight. His laughter mingled with the chirping of birds after the storm, making the morning feel lighter, brighter. Setting down the teapot, Hoai Ca looked out toward the yard, her voice soft and full of emotion. "I've never seen a sunrise so beautiful." Hung turned toward her, his eyes tender. "That's because we've just lived through the darkest night of our lives." They shared a gentle smile, warm as the morning light. Mother Ha looked up to the sky and whispered, "Thank heaven, it's over." After the flood, Hoai Ca was saved. The family reunited, in tears and laughter. Though they lost so much, they chose to rise again, to rebuild together. But, just as peace seemed to return, Hung began showing signs of exhaustion. Persistent coughing, the sting of an old wound worsened by the cold. Will he overcome this new trial? Stay tuned for the next episode.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Đây mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người câu chuyện về mẹ đương thân Ly Hoai Ca và cảnh sát Hùng. Như mọi người cũng đã biết thì Hùng và Hoài Ca đã cùng nhau trải qua một quá trình khá là lâu dài và ở bên nhau, yêu nhau cũng rất là lâu rồi, cả năm nay rồi. Bữa nay thì Hùng và Hoài Ca đang phải cùng nhau trải qua một điều khó khăn, đó là cùng nhau vượt qua một cái thiên tai vô cùng khắc nghiệt, khiến cho căn nhà của Hoài Ca thậm chí nó bị tàn phá. Đây mọi người cũng có thể thấy là mình đang edit dở video và cũng chưa có hoàn thành. Căn nhà của Hoài Ca thì bị tàn phá một cách hoang tàn đến nỗi mà không còn nhận ra nữa. Còn ngay cả Hoài Ca thì cô cũng suýt bỏ mạng ở trong cái vụ bão lũ này. Thiên tai thì nó là một thứ rất là nguy hiểm và không có gì đau lòng bằng sinh ly tử biệt, nên mọi người hãy cùng cầu nguyện cho Hoài Ca và Hùng có thể vượt qua được khó khăn lần này mọi người nhé. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều, hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video sau. Bye bye.